This is major breaking news. We have a state of emergency that has now been declared. We have executive orders now being signed, and we have top officials warning that our safety is at risk in our country. That's what they're warning of. And at the same time, all these things are happening. We also have our country, our border is wide open. And now we have people coming over the border who are coming from countries that are, quote, state sponsors of terror. All right, that's what just happened in the past 48 hours. We are seeing crossings from people that are coming from these countries that the U.S. itself has designated as these special groups that we don't even trade with, or they have the heaviest sanctions possible on them. And their citizens are also showing up at our U.S. border. All right, so multiple big things are going on. We also have people impersonating law enforcement. We have fake law enforcement and fake border patrol on the U.S. border that are contributing to this problem and helping people cross, and also potentially picking up people that think they are real border patrol and taking them. All right, this is a major problem in our country. We're going to cover all this stuff. We also have the National Guard being deployed. More states are now deploying their National Guard to the southern border to deal with this crisis, right? So there's a ton of big news. We're going to hit all of it tonight. And these encounters that they are having, they are running into people crossing our border that are now coming from countries that have the strictest sanctions and are, quote, state sponsors of terror. All right, this comes at the same time we have a state of emergency being declared because top officials are warning that our country is not safe right now. Not safe. All right, and they're saying that there's a major shortfall in law enforcement and they don't have enough officers, and they're worried that something big could happen and they do not have enough personnel to respond, right? That's what's just been declared. We'll get to that in a second, but this ties into this as well, all right? You can see here Fox News has encountered at the border 3 Syrian men that were crossing in the San Diego sector at Jacumba, California, and they're saying that they will receive additional screening when they are processed because Syria is designated by the U.S. as a, quote, state sponsor of terror. All right, that's what's being reported by Fox News and their reporters on the ground there. All right, so we now have people entering from countries that the U.S. has these special designations from, and they are being allowed to enter our country. And what's the additional screening? What are they really doing to screen these people and to actually figure out who they are? I'm sure it's not much, all right? People that apply legally to come over to our country, it takes them years of screening to figure out who they are and to verify if they are not a threat or not, all right? People that come over legally for different visa processes, they have to have years of screening, and sometimes they're even denied, right? Even people that are marrying people from out of the country, if they want to marry someone from out of the country and they want to move here, all right, they married an American, they want to move here, even a lot of times those people get denied because they cannot verify, or they're from a sketchy region has this special designation from the U.S. All right, but now if they show up at the U.S. border, they are allowed to enter. All right, we're going to get to the state of emergency in just a second, but this is related to it as well because the state of emergency is due to our law enforcement. All right, and now we have law enforcement, we have fake law enforcement and fake border patrol vehicles that are now showing up at the border and they're crossing people over. Okay, we had a dozen people arrested after a fake border patrol vehicle was found in Arizona. All right, so they are helping to move these people across the border in these fake border patrol and law enforcement vehicles, and they're also preying on people that are coming across as well and picking them up and potentially taking them to places that are not safe locations, sketchy locations, putting them into these rings. All right, so that's also what's happening. And we could see this situation spread where we have fake law enforcement and fake federal officers, local officers as well, to fill in the gap of this law enforcement shortage and vacuum that we have, right? And that's why this state of emergency was just declared, because there are massive law enforcement shortages and police shortages, right? So we're going to see, in the absence of people signing up to be police officers, because this is a hard job right now, people do not want to be a police officer in the midst of this collapse and crime wave. And it's only going to make things even worse because there's even less, all right? And we're going to see this gap filled where we have fake police officers and fake border patrol that are going to try to take advantage of the situation. So you can see here that a state of emergency has been declared in Louisiana. Governor Jeff Landry has signed an executive order, multiple executive orders actually, to declare a state of emergency due to a severe police officer shortage that the state is dealing with right now, right? And they're saying they're having crime wave spikes and they're having less public safety in Louisiana, especially places like New Orleans. They are having heavy crime waves and spikes of these incidents, and a lot of it is due to they have no deputies to respond, right? And at the same time, we are allowing people by the millions unvetted to come into our country as well that could be on these watch lists. All right, so this is a recipe for disaster. You can see here that Landry's executive order was issued on Thursday, and it lifts limits on how many new employees Louisiana sheriffs can hire and on payroll increases for the department. Right? It says they estimate that the sheriff's office statewide are currently short by approximately 1,800 deputies, leading to challenges in maintaining adequate staffing levels and increasing response times to emergency calls. He also said, quote, "Currently our state is facing a shortage of officers, resulting in increased crime and less public safety." That's what the governor of Louisiana is warning of right now, right? Increased crime in his state, less public safety. So this is the collapse of our country. We have all this money to deal with this crisis, this migrant crisis, quote, migrant crisis. But then we don't have any money to hire police officers, to pay. Nobody even wants to take this job because officers do their job. They arrest these criminals and then they are let out. A lot of these places, they're instantly let out. Some areas have zero bail, like New York City, and they're instantly let out, and the police are demoralized and crime gets even worse, and then people don't even want to be a police officer as well. A very similar situation is happening with our military. There's a demoralization and the recruitment numbers are way down, and this is only going to make things even worse, speed up the collapse of our society and push us towards a military law scenario. And if you think that's extreme, look at what's happening in West Virginia right now. West Virginia has had their National Guard staffing their prisons the past year and a half, right? Because they have no correctional officers, they have no police officers, they don't have enough deputies to fill the gaps in. So they have the National Guard that are now staffing the prisons and filling in and guarding the prisons and acting like COs inside of these prisons inside of West Virginia. They are now working on a plan to reduce the amount of National Guard that are inside of these West Virginia prisons, but this is what we're heading towards, where the military, this is happening in all these major cities. The military is being brought in to deal with these major crises. They are bringing us to these breaking points where the only way to respond is with our National Guard and military. And then they are tied up with these civil emergencies, and they cannot actually defend our country and defend our border and keep our country safe. And then we are also under this quasi-military law that we are dealing with inside of our country as well. All right, we also have the National Guard, more National Guard troops are now being deployed to the southern border. We have New Hampshire has now approved sending National Guard troops to the border. All right, the governor was looking to get approval from the state legislators for funds to send these troops there, and they approved it, and we now have New Hampshire sending National Guard troops as well to the U.S., Texas, Mexico southern border. All right, so this fight isn't over. We have these big plans and big moves still happening, and Texas actually has seen a drastic reductions in their crossings. Most of the crossings are now happening in Arizona, in California, and a little bit in New Mexico as well. That's where most of the crossings are happening. And something really quick, I just want to remind everyone of, all right, what we're actually dealing with here and how this is actually intentional. This is a plan. All right, this is an article from the very first day that Biden was inaugurated into office, January 20th, 2021. This is an article from CNN. Biden starts fast on immigration by halting border wall and travel ban while embracing DACA. Very first day, he halts the border wall, halts a travel ban. And then this is also what Biden said as well when he was a candidate at a Democrat debate. I want you to listen to this too. This is what Biden said. This was on ABC News. He said this on live television. Everyone saw it, but it's kind of brushed under the rug. This is what he said on live television.
I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come. I would, in fact, make sure.
All right, so that's what Biden also said when he was a candidate for president in 2020. He said that people should surge the border. He said all these asylum seekers should surge our U.S. southern border, maybe even our northern border as well, surge the U.S. border when he gets in, right? So why would you be saying this? Why would you openly be announcing this to the world that the U.S. border needs to be surged day one you get in? And then it's been all the incentives as well. All this money that's being spent on the free housing, the free hotels, all these things. It's causing inflation, it's causing problems, and it's causing chaos in our country. So please hit it up for me down there. Hit that subscribe, hit that like. This is happening in our country every single day, and people are getting concerned and they're getting worried about the changes that are happening in their communities as well. All right, we have people in New York City and also Massachusetts. They are speaking out and they're saying that they don't want this in their community. I want you to listen to this video here. This was on mainstream news. This was posted on CBS News New York. And this was a group of residents where a luxury building in their city, in their part of town, is now being converted to a migrant shelter. They were trying to convert it, but the people came out and they were holding meetings and they were saying, no, we don't want this. And they actually responded and said that they won't be converting this building into one anymore. All right, but this is happening all over the country. I want you to listen to this really quick because this is coming to your city soon. This is coming to your town soon. They won on one building, but the building down the block is going to get converted. All right, they won this small battle, but the war of this is still going on. I want you to listen to this really quick.
This week, when neighbors noticed boxes of bunk beds being loaded in.
We were trying to find out what was going on, and we weren't getting any answers to our question.
They learned City Hall was planning to turn the building into temporary housing for asylum seekers.
No, I don't agree with it turned into a sanctuary for asylum seekers. No, when we have people right here that need the space.
While neighbors were gathering to share their concerns, Mayor Eric Adams dropped in to answer questions.
You are the mayor. We do not want to hear excuses.
But the mayor announced a change of course.
I told the team, find out what's going on here. We're not moving folks into a brand new building when you have long-term needs into a community, that's not going to happen.
The luxury building will instead be a shelter for long-term New York City families.
You will not have migrants and asylum seekers in that property.
Residents told me they're relieved for the change, but frustrated by the city's lack of transparency around opening a shelter in the first place. Many wish they had more input about the building's future.
All right, so that's what's happening in New York City. It's coming to your city next as well. This isn't just a isolated incident where you can say, hey, it's in these big cities, it's not coming to me. It's coming everywhere. The big cities are just getting hit the hardest and first right now, but it's also spreading all throughout the country. Small towns are being hit extremely hard as well all throughout the country. They are being overwhelmed. They are getting arrivals of hundreds of people a day, some of them, and they don't know what to do. There's nowhere to house, feed, or clothe these people, right? So it's one of these things, and it's what these residents were saying as well, that we have people already in the communities that need these resources and are not being served properly as well. America already has a massive homeless issue, a massive poverty issue. America already has that, and we do not want to exacerbate this issue or make it any worse, right? And this is putting a major strain on our economy, on our communities, the entire country. And it's also a national security risk as well when we have these massive shortages of police officers, law enforcement. We can't even deal with this influx of people to begin with, right? There was also a similar situation story coming out of Massachusetts. People are worried about their local community centers that are being converted to, quote, migrant shelters and facilities as well. That's happening inside of Massachusetts. And people are worried. People are saying their kids used to go here and used to play here, used to play sports here, and now they have to travel way further. Now they have to stop. They can't do this anymore. This is affecting entire communities are being transformed from this. Please hit it up for me down there, guys. Make sure you're getting prepared. Make sure you are getting ready. All right, let me give you guys a little chick update here. This is one of our girls. They're doing good. All right, this is a black Australorp chick. One of my favorite chicks. One of the first breeds of chickens that I ever got over a decade ago, going on now a decade ago, all right, when I got my first chicks. And great egg layers. My first Australorp laid every single day. She laid every single day for years. Great temperament, and I really, really like the breed. And she lived a very long time. She actually got attacked by something, right? She was 7 years old and still laying eggs, right? So make sure you guys are getting prepared, getting stocked up, getting your homestead ready. Get that prepper pantry filled up and ready to go. And make sure you are able to defend yourself as well and be proactive about these situations. Have situational awareness. Stuff can happen anywhere, right? And now we're seeing major law enforcement shortages. They're not going to be able to fill in the gaps. It's going to be up to us. In a real emergency, the government is not able to really respond, right? That's why it's an emergency. In a real emergency, you're kind of on your own, right? Look at these emergencies like Hawaii, like Ohio, all these different emergencies. People are on their own. The government wasn't there to save them. And if something's really happening, even right now, we're in an emergency right now. The economy, inflation, people can barely afford to pay their rent, to buy food, to pay their bills, right? We're already in this emergency right now, and they're not doing anything, right? So you can bet when it's hitting the fan, they will not be there to save you as well. You need to be getting yourself ready and getting yourself prepared. All right, so thank you guys so much. I hope you have big blessings for your life and your family, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.